In this lesson, called the Apple Speaks lesson, we're going to be learning how to use an 8-point garbage mat in Final Cut Pro. Before we go to Final Cut, you need to gather some video assets. The video assets you will need is a no more than 10-second clip of yourself just speaking. You will do this using iMovie, and you can use the new Media Arts Murrow High School learning video on how to record yourself in iMovie. When you're recording, try to make your head stay as still as possible as you're speaking so that it will have the best effect when you're doing the transition into Final Cut Pro. You will also need to download the Apple Zoom In shot from that site, and you can use the YouTube to MP4 converter, and if you need to learn how to do that, you can also use the lesson in the New Media Arts Murrow High School YouTube channel. Once you have both of those videos loaded to a projects folder called Apple Speaks, which you will create inside of your own projects folder, you'll be ready to begin. You will create a new project in Final Cut Pro called Apple Speaks and also save it to your projects folder. Once you've done that, you're going to import the two videos that you created by going to Import File, select both of the videos of yourself speaking and the Apple Zoom In shot, and they will appear in your browser. Start by taking the Apple Zoom In shot, dragging it to video layer 1 in your timeline. Once you have that video, make sure that it's at the beginning of your timeline. And you will then drag the video of you speaking over video layer 2. Make sure the arrow is pointing down versus to the right, and let go. Again, make sure the playhead is at the beginning of the timeline. We're going to apply an 8-point garbage mat to this video 2 layer of you speaking. Double click on that layer so that you know that it's selected. Click on the Effects tab in the browser. Click where it says, scroll down in your video filters folder, and you will find a folder that says mat. Inside that, you'll see the 8-point garbage mat filter. Click, drag, and drop it on top of your video clip in the timeline. Then up in the Filters tab, click on that in your viewer, and then you are going to start to mat out just your mouth by starting with point 1, clicking on the plus sign, then clicking and holding, drag that point to the edge of your mouth. Then select the next point and drag. If you accidentally click a point and drag over and then let go and start to drag, you will move the frame. You don't want to do that. So hit Command Z to undo your change, and then again you have to click the plus sign next to the point and then hold while you're moving it, and don't let go. Again, once you've gotten each point all the way around the outside edge of your mouth, you'll be ready to go on to the next step. You can make it so that your the points are a little farther away from the edge of your mouth. It doesn't have to be right on the edge of it, because we're going to be doing, the next step is we're going to be feathering the edge so that it's a little bit smoother, and you will see how we do this in a minute. So once you've gotten the mat all the way around the outside edge, the first thing we're going to do is we're actually going to drag that mouth and position it better on the Apple background. So click, hold, and drag that over. Before you do that, actually, you want to make sure that your image and wireframe is selected. So if you have not yet done so, click on this button up here, make sure your image and wireframe is selected, and then you can drag and realign where that mouth is positioned in your video field in the canvas. Once you've gotten it positioned how you like, it may be too small or too big, you're going to come over to the Motion tab in the viewer, and you can change the scale of that to match what you think is most proportionate to the shape of the apple. Once you have it positioned and scaled how you like it, You're going to come down, you're going to click back to the filter tab, scroll down, and you can click to hide the labels, and you will see now just the green dots instead of the numbers. And you're also going to feather the edge by clicking and holding on the handle in the feathers tab row, and you're going to see by dragging it over, it starts to make the edges more transparent and helps blend in that clip to the background clip. Once you've gotten the feathering edge, you're going to come back to the browser, click back on the Apple Speaks tab, and again drag the same clip of you speaking and putting it onto video layer 3. Again, make sure the arrow is pointing down as you drop it onto video layer 3, and move your playhead all the way over back to the beginning of the timeline. Again, you'll double click on that new layer, come to the effects tab, find the 8-point garbage mat, drag it on top of your clip, and then using each of the different points, you're going to trace around the outside edge of your eye. Again, you can have a bit of a distance away from the edge of the eye because you know that you're going to use the feathering anyway to kind of make it a little bit smoother. So go around each point, tracing. Again, if you want to turn the labels off as you're working, sometimes it makes it a little easier to see where the edges are. You just have to remember which number you're working on. You can trace all the way around the outside edge. Again, once you've gotten it all the way around, make sure your image and wireframe is selected. You can click and reposition that so that it feels a little bit more accurate. You can click on the motion tab and change the scale to make it a size that you like. And you can also, in the filter tab, feather the edge so that it blends better into the background. All right, so then you're going to do the last layer, which is the eye, another eye. Clicking on the Apple Speaks in the browser, grab and drop that same exact video clip onto video layer 4, drag the playhead over to the beginning, add the 8-point garbage mat to that video layer, make sure you've double clicked it so that it's selected, click on the points for the mat, and this time we're doing the last eye as we trace around the outside edge. Again, point by point. If you Alright, 5, again, I'm going to turn off the number layer so I can see it better. 6, 7, and 8. Once I've traced around the outside edge, I can drag the wireframe over, position it, feather the edge, and change the scale to kind of match what I want, reposition it some more, okay? So make sure you've gotten your positioning so that your proportions are accurate to what you want. Okay, then we're ready for the next step. For each of these different video layers of the eyes, 2 eyes, and the mouth, we're going to be setting keyframes to create motion. To figure out where exactly we want the motion to end, we actually want to click in the timeline on the playhead and drag it along until the apple in the video background stops growing. Once we get it, or stops zooming in. Once we get it to that spot where the apple stops zooming in, okay, you can also use your arrow keys on the timeline to figure out exactly where it stops moving. You're going to come up, right now I've double clicked on my eye layer, my right eye layer, and you're going to click where it says motion, and you're going to set a keyframe on the scale and the centering. Then you're going to double click on the other eye, same thing, scale and centering. You're going to set keyframes. And then last, the mouth, double click in the motion tab, right at that same spot, set keyframes. So I've set keyframes on each of these 3 layers at the spot where the apple stops zooming in. Okay? Then I'm going to drag my playhead back to the beginning and set a keyframe on the scale and the centering for each of those 3 layers, the same spot. Alright, so once I have all of my keyframes set, now I'm going to start setting the motion. So I'm up on this 3rd eye. I'm going to drag my playhead over up in my viewer. Okay, notice how the apple got zoomed in, but the face stayed the same size. So I'm going to now change the scale and positioning of this. So that's why we set the keyframe for the centering and the scale. So I'll start with this. The centering looks about right, but I'll change the scale to be a little larger. But as I change the scale, notice it kind of goes all wonky and off. So now I'm going to drag that down. Okay, I'm going to do the next eye. Again, change the scale and the centering. Okay, and now I'm going to double click on the mouth, and I'm going to change the scale and the centering. Okay, so now you can see, you know, I positioned it. If I want to keep going through and moving while I'm at this stage in the timeline, okay, I can do anything to these different layers that I want, as you know, and whatever changes that I've done will affect only that keyframe in that spot and anything after it. All right. So now that I've gotten that all set, I'm pretty much good to go. That when I drag through, you'll see that the motion, that the eyes and the mouth grow or look like they're zooming in along with that apple. The last thing we're going to do is drag to the end of that apple clip, and using our cutting tool, cut the edges of us speaking and delete the edges, and clicking down to show our toggling of our overlay clips, we're going to use the pen tool to click on the very edge to set a keyframe, and click on the very edge and drag down, so that we're essentially making the opacity change, fade out to black on the edges of our clips. And we can do that for each one of them. Just stylistically, it's kind of nice. You could do the same thing on the beginning if you wanted to, just to have a nice little fade in, fade out for your clip. And that's it. You are done. All you need to do now is render everything and save your project, and then export it to QuickTime Video. All right, that's it.